episode of At Witt's End. If you're watching for the first time or listening on a podcast, I'm Ken, and I'm with my son Carson. I am in the west coast of the United States, and Carson is in Austria. So he's 6,000 miles away. It's morning here. It's evening in Austria, and our podcast is focused on various topics. But Carson's pretty excited this week about nuclear fusion. So he's an engineer getting his master's in Austria. And so not a topic I know a whole lot about, but nuclear fusion I know as far as clean energy. Nuclear is the way to go. That might be a little controversial, but I'll let Carson talk about nuclear fusion for a few minutes, and then if I have anything to say, I'll jump in.
Yeah, excited. I guess you could use that term. I think it's very cool news. And I will say I'm not studying as an engineer here in Austria. I'm studying computer science. So
see again, technical
let's not
guys.
get that twisted. But I do have an engineer undergraduate degree in computer engineering. So I guess you could call me somewhat of an engineer, but I digress. Get into the topics. So I'm not, super well versed on nuclear energy and all things nuclear, but I do know big news in nuclear when there is big news. And officially released, I believe it was earlier this week, confirmation of the first recorded ignition.
Yeah, but let me interject. I knew nothing about it till Carson brought it up. I saw nothing on the local news or national news, and nothing scrolled past my news feed. So go ahead, Carson.
Yeah, I think this should be bigger news than it is, but I think it's not as much because it's not the final breakthrough we need for this to become the, a solution to many people's problem. It's one of those kind of scientific steps along the way. But there was first confirmation this week that came out of the first recorded ignition in a nuclear fission test. So this test actually occurred last year, August 2021, but just got released this week in 3 peer-reviewed research papers. It occurred at the Lawrence Livermore National Lab
in California.
In California. So a quick kind of rundown. So nuclear fusion is the process that we see every day because it powers the sun and other stars. So this is hydrogen atoms colliding with enough force that they actually fuse together and they form a helium atom. So those are 2 extremely common elements in the universe. So hydrogen and helium, sources that there's no, need to worry about how plentiful they are because they're extremely plentiful. So a byproduct of this is they release massive amounts of energy. And this is where, that's a similar byproduct that occurs in nuclear bombs and everything. That's why it's a bomb. It creates massive amounts of energy. But this in nuclear fission is what we're trying to do is capture this energy. So once these hydrogen atoms collide, forming a helium atom, the hydrogen plasma ignites. And what's important there is that this recent news is confirmation of this ignition in a laboratory. So once this ignition happens, the fusion reaction becomes self-sustaining. So it can produce energy to be self-sustaining. So it'll maintain its temperature without any external forces.
What's the difference between that and what's happening now at a nuclear power plant?
So in a current nuclear energy plant right now, it is the process what's called nuclear fission. So nuclear fission is actually splitting atoms, and it is taking a nuclear material substance and splitting that. That splitting of atoms is causing massive releases of energy. With fusion, it's the opposite. You're actually combining atoms into a new product. So you're combining these hydrogen atoms into helium atom. Now the big difference here in fusion is that the byproducts of fusion is helium, right? So you're producing helium, another this element that's already plentiful in the world, and so this is essentially a extremely
clean.
clean and very little pollution compared to other forms of energy production, right? So, but here's the thing: right now is we don't know how to harness this energy. This process, fusion, excuse me, is efficient and less polluting than other forms of energy production. And this is at this point all kind of conceptual, because we've just gotten to this step of ignition, this middle step towards getting there. So now we are creating the energy. Now we need a way to capture the energy.
Mm.
And so this, I think, in what we were talking about earlier, is not as big of news, is because we haven't gotten to that most important step of actually capturing that energy, which is what we would need to put it into production, right? To put it into the energy supply of our country, of the world.
Yeah, yeah. That I don't think a lot of the general public is well versed in nuclear or any energy, to be honest. So I think there's a segment of the population that is excited about it, but the general public is
Yeah,
not yet.
and I hate that kind of mindset that kind of the general public in the world has. And I've always been a proponent of nuclear energy. I think nuclear energy is a positive energy resource that we should be doing more of. But I think we've gotten to this point of fearing nuclear energy because of, with good reason, because of where it started, in bomb making and military applications, and where it went to in energy production
Yeah, the
with
Soviet
like the
Union, the
Chernobyl
meltdown,
disaster and
right?
Fukushima. Like there were these very scary events, but what a lot of people don't realize is nuclear energy nowadays is so, the technology that is being used is so good and so high quality that those events happening with modern nuclear reactors is, it's minuscule. It essentially won't happen. And
Yeah, it
obviously,
would
like we saw with,
solve our energy problem, is what it would come down to.
yeah, I mean, it would solve a lot of energy issues, but there's this connotation with when you say nuclear, anything. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what it is, energy, bombs, like it all goes back to bomb making, right? And that's the connotation it brings. And so the general public has this conception in, like I was saying, rightfully so. There have been some disastrous events, um, even associated, outside of military side, but the energy with Fukushima and Chernobyl, and other um,
and
meltdowns that have
what's the one
occurred.
in the U.S.? 3 Mile Island. 3 Mile
Three
Island.
Mile Island, yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
and I mean, I grew up when the whole anti-nuke movement was going on, and one of the best albums ever produced was an anti-nuke album. I think Jackson Browne was on it, Bonnie Raitt, Bruce Springsteen. So the media kind of got behind the anti-nuke movement, but I think the reality of energy and the technology advances we're having, such as this one, um, hopefully will change the mindset.
yeah. And I know in the U.S. it definitely has this mindset. I know in a lot of other countries, this mindset doesn't exist. Like I
The
know in
French,
France, the French have a lot of the French have a lot of nuclear power plants, and they provide a lot of energy. And when you
which
actually
is
look
it,
at,
which is kind of
right,
funny because the general public in the U.S. look at, say, the French as very for. Um, they would be surprised to find out how advanced the French are with nuclear energy.
yeah, and
I don't
it's an
think most
interesting,
Americans even know they have a nuclear power plant. They have
yeah,
what,
it's an interesting
six?
subject going into like this winter, right? Too, with all the
Mm.
energy potential issues
Ukraine.
with
It's
Ukraine
got
and
to be big.
Russia. And me sitting in Austria, it's talked about at my work all the time, and at school everyone's talking about the winter and gas prices and energy resources. Where Austria is a landlocked country, so we don't have like offshore drilling or means to get that. We have Austria has to bring in all their energy resources. Pretty much, they do have
They,
water energy.
yeah, hydro. Do they have any nuclear? No.
No, they don't have any nuclear. So nuclear was actually um, taken away by, like you were talking about in the U.S., that kind of a lot of protesting by nuclear activists or anti-nuclear activists, and they actually shut down the first power plant that was supposed to open. They built it and never opened it here in Austria.
Wow.
Um, But talking about the French, so the French, have all this nuclear energy, and what I found interesting, I recently read, is that France actually provides a lot of energy to England, to the UK, and they actually make a ton of money off of this. Now, this is another subject altogether, the UK and their cost of energy rising. But I was shocked to learn that one of the largest providers of energy, and kind of
to
taking
the UK.
advantage of the profits and the price gouging that is going on in UK energy sector, was France. And what's not interesting too is it's not like a private company in France. The
It's
energy
the
is owned by
yeah
people of
yeah.
France. So that profit from the UK,
Oh,
from
the
the UK
French.
citizens, is actually going to the French people and to building up France and their infrastructure.
Right.
So, this like their mindset of the power and the good that nuclear energy can provide is very beneficial to them.
Right. Right. Good. Well,
The whole European energy crisis of the winter of 2022-23 is a whole nother topic, and that's a long
yeah. I
discussion
think what do we
too.
got? About another month and a half to 2 months when the I hate to use a term, but when the shit hits the fan, there,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, that's for sure.
you
So
better go out and chop some wood. Get that wood burning fireplace somewhere.
oh yeah, that'll be good money coming in this winter for those bringing in wood to burn. So
Yeah. Although I don't know if wood burning fireplaces are a thing anymore
they're
or
still pretty
allowed.
common.
Are
Yeah,
they? Really
especially
haven't
in
noticed the rural areas.
outside in the rural areas. That's definitely the common theme. So
I know I saw a lot of in Vienna, but I've never seen. I can't think I've seen one that's wood burning or that was in
yeah, I
use
guess in
even
Vienna,
at Christmas.
not so much, given the multifamily apartments and buildings everywhere.
Yeah,
Um, but with single family homes, I've seen a lot of fireplaces,
wood burning though or
wood burning,
gas. Oh, okay.
wood
Uh,
burning.
I'll have to notice next time. Well, that
But
was
yeah,
such a
so
technical topic.
yeah, but yeah, big news, and I hope that do a little research on that, Google around. But in the nuclear energy um, community and the new energy world as a whole, this news of nuclear fusion ignition occurring and being confirmed is a very important story that I think more people should know about. So
Well, this is actually something that could change everyone's lives. Whereas I go back, one of the biggest technical disappointments I ever saw was the Segway. Because remember, I don't know if you remember, the lead into that was it was going to change transportation forever. And
in a way, it has
no, it didn't.
contributed
It
to the rise
contributed,
of
yeah, robotics
scooters and
maybe.
all
Yeah,
these electric
scooters,
scooters
robotics.
nowadays.
But the only thing I see Segways for city tours.
I mean, you see a lot of their stuff in people using it as transport. It was not as massive, life changing as like they thought it probably would be, but
Yeah,
it's the rise of like electric scooters and that technology nowadays has I think there was some part of Segway into that, and
I think the
I
technology helped other modes of transportation and robotics, but
yeah,
the Segway
yeah.
itself, I think, was a huge disappointment. Whereas nuclear fusion, I don't know much or anything about it, but I can understand the concept changing everybody's
Yeah,
lives.
it could be life
Hopefully,
changing.
and
Yeah.
for the better. Yeah. So,
But speaking of Segways,
oh,
F1
I didn't
silly
even name
season.
that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know you created a segue, but you weren't even thinking of
it
a
wasn't on
segue
purpose.
into our new topic. F1 silly season. So what was the big news that came out recently that we both saw?
Well, I don't know where you're leading, but we spent the last 2 weeks using that news to try and position ourselves for 2023. For those of you that aren't into F1, obviously it's becoming super popular. And this podcast is not meant to be an F1 podcast, but it is a topic of discussion. Um, we recently attended the Grand Prix in Austria, which is a track, beautiful track. There's also
Not a
races that
street
are,
circuit.
yeah, there are also tracks that are temporary in a city, such as in Miami, for instance. but it was announced, what was it, last year or 6 months ago, that they were signed a deal for Las Vegas, and it actually is going to be in Las Vegas, downtown on the Strip. The big news was leaked that let me go back a little bit. When we heard there was going to be a race in Vegas in November, 5-year deal, starting in November of 2023, um, I immediately started guessing what weeks or weekends that was going to be. And if you're in the car industry, you know that the biggest aftermarket auto show, maybe globally, but at least in the US, is called SEMA. And that's the first week of November. So that weekend is definitely out because everything will be sold out. At the end of the month is what we do in the US called Thanksgiving. And so that week is going to be totally out. So that left 2 weekends, and I immediately booked a condominium on that first weekend. I could only book one. I started asking friends to book the second. Uh, I guessed wrong. It was leaked out last week or 2 weeks ago now, maybe. Well, whenever it was, a week ago. And I think the Chamber of Commerce kind of silently said, yes, that's the weekend.
Yeah, it
Or
was
did they actually
confirmed by
confirm it?
the. It was confirmed by, or I should say, substantiated by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority,
Sure.
which
Okay.
is the authority for all
Yeah.
things going on in Vegas.
Yeah, because you got to have hotel rooms, and the convention hall is a major draw. So that's a very reliable source. So it's going to be November 16th through the 19th. And it's a
Yep.
Saturday night race.
Yeah, so a little detail. So it was a letter of intent from Liberty. So it was actually a subsidy of Liberty Media, who owns F1, Formula One, and I think this is a subsidy for the Las Vegas race. And they sent a letter of intent to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and in that letter of intent, I think it was something like 17 pages long. They stated the dates of the race, that it is the 16th through the 19th. They stated that is 5 years, which I think was already known at that point. And they also stated some other things they need, like construction equipment and workers
Mm-hmm.
and other random things. But the big key there was the dates, right? So the 16th to the 19th, and that also what was already known at that time. So that confirms the Saturday night race, which is another night race on the schedule. I think a lot of night races are occurring second half of the season. But what's interesting too about this one is it's occurring back to back with Abu Dhabi at the end of the season. So the season will end in 2023 most likely with Las Vegas and the new track. Unknown what it's gonna kind of be like. I know there's been some comparisons, but it'll be a brand new street circuit, so unknown
They say
racing
it's going to be
conditions.
a fast track,
Yeah,
which
it's not a big long straight down the Las Vegas Strip, so you'll get some speed there, but it's we're going into it unknown, and as a late season track, it's going to be could potentially be important to deciding, and then it'll go back to back with Abu Dhabi finishing the season, so it could have some important racing going on there in Las Vegas for its first race.
oh, I definitely think it will. I'm excited about it, and I'm just as excited that we both have secured rooms, condos in Vegas on the track. We let a couple of friends know about it too. They've secured some housing as well. And if you do a lot of booking in the lodging industry, you can't book a year in advance. This is over a year ahead, and we were able to do that. So, pretty excited about that. But the one thing that Miami had the race this year, City Track, but I think it wasn't in the heart of Miami. What's different about Vegas is it is in the heart of Vegas. It's on the Strip. You're going to be going by the Bellagio, Caesars. We're lucky we secured some lodging right on the track, and you know F1 draws an affluent crowd. I think
It's a
that's
wealthy
proven
crowd,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, so lodging in Vegas, my expectation is it's going to shoot through the roof when the word gets out. So you won't be able to book a hotel if you can, and if you can find a room, I I would think it's going to be 4 to 5 times more than normal.
Yeah, when the official date and the official press release goes out from Formula One announcing the dates, not a leak or anything like was just recently had. Um, the hotel lodging, the Airbnb lodging will go up. It'll skyrocket, and when hotel lodging starts to open up that kind of year out, so starting November ish, it will those hotel prices, they'll know what's going on that weekend. They're going to be crazy. And you know Miami had the prestige, like you're saying, it's Miami. Everyone, people love to travel and vacation in Miami, but like you said, it
Europeans
wasn't.
love Miami,
Yeah, but
and they
it
also
wasn't at the
love
track.
Vegas.
Yeah, so it wasn't downtown Miami race, it was at the Hard Rock. So with this being on the strip, all the hotels overlooking it, you're passing
Sports
by
book.
the Aria, you have all the sports books there, you're passing by Planet Hollywood and MGM, like all this stuff, overlooking the course. And it's Vegas, right? It's the entertainment epicenter of the world. And
Yeah, it already has
it's
a huge amount of private jets coming in and out. That will probably triple, quadruple.
it's
Um,
it's gonna
the
be
amount of money that's going
insane.
to be spent is, yeah. And
Yeah.
quite frankly, I think we're lucky that we were able to secure lodging, because I think after this first year, the next 4 years, it's going to be even tougher.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it goes the first year, but I'm really looking forward to it. And especially being like close to with the hotel right on the track, and being that close, and just the environment that it's going to create around. I think we're right
I know
near
that.
the start finish line there, so looking forward to that.
Where's the paddock going to be? Is on Vegas Boulevard, Las Vegas
No,
Boulevard, right?
it'll be near the start finish. So it's the Las Vegas Boulevard is, I assume, will be third sector, so it'll be towards the end of the track. Um, so start finish is actually going to be off of Las Vegas Boulevard, and we'll come back around. There's that Globe Entertainment structure.
Which is
The
brand
like
new. I don't think it's open yet. That's going to be
Yeah,
phenomenal.
so it's going to be rounding that structure, going back over to the strip. I so Sector 1 is not going to be on the strip. It'll be off. I think it's a block off. And then Sector 2 will be, I think, around that globe area, back onto the strip. And then I believe Sector 3 will be the strip, a left turn, a chicane, and a final kind of slight left into the start finish line, which is off the strip. Um,
Yeah.
so it'll be interesting to see. And no one knows what the setup's going to truly be like, what the stands will be like, what the paddock setup's really going to be like. I know they bought some property recently in Vegas, and they're creating a
Who did? Liberty?
Liberty. Yeah, and
Wow.
they're also opening a F1 experience center, I believe. So
Oh, out
another like
by
tourist
out in
attraction.
North Vegas, probably by the NASCAR
No,
track
no,
out there.
downtown.
Really?
Yeah, near the strip. Yep. Like in the area of the strip. So it'll be a long term kind of experience center. It's not a like racetrack or anything. But it's
Which reminds me of, I think you sent me the video of, in the Czech Republic, a guy got an old Ferrari. Was that you that sent that?
yeah. So it's not a yeah,
That
funny
was
thing.
awesome.
If you see it on TikTok or some random videos, there was a video that came out of a replica of a Ferrari
Oh, it was
Formula
a
One car.
replica.
Yeah, so
Okay, I
it's a
thought it was an
GP2
actual.
car. It's not
Hmm.
a true Formula One car, but it's set up to look like it's a GP2 car set up to look like a Ferrari Formula One car. And this guy was seen in helmet and I believe overalls driving on the freeway in the Czech Republic. And
It looked awesome.
what's wild about this, so the police are looking for him, but what's even crazier is he did this, most likely same person did this back in 2019, because the same car was spotted in 2019 on the Trek freeways, and they never found the guy who did it back in 2019. So my
That's
assumption
bizarre,
is
because
it's
you
the
would
same one.
think with a car like that everybody would know who it is, unless he's got to keep it stashed
Yeah,
in a
they caught
garage
video of him
secretly
turning
somewhere.
off somewhere.
Yeah, because I was looking to see if there was a license or anything, and
There's nothing. There's no brake lights,
hell,
no turn signals.
we had to get a special license just to drive through the Czech Republic, or permit. So that's
Yeah, so
wild.
look it up on TikTok or on YouTube. There's a video running around of a guy driving a look-alike Ferrari Formula One car on the Czech Republic freeways, and the guy chasing
Yeah.
him does a good job of keeping up and and you can actually
I
hear
just think
the
it was
sounds
a
of it.
buddy. I thought it was just a friend of his filming because
But yeah, it's he actually was. If I remember the video right, he was behind a Countach or something, Lamborghini
in the
Countach
first
for a
part of it,
portion of the video.
yeah,
Yeah, which is kind of funny.
yeah.
Um,
So
but yeah, wild video. But yeah, so we'll hope to be, or hopefully we'll be seeing the F1 cars on the streets of Las Vegas in over a
yeah,
year's time at this point.
which I thought of as we're talking about it. The other thing that we've got to do in advance, unless we're just eating pizza, restaurants are the reservations are going to be
Oh,
packed out.
everything. Yeah, clubs,
Yeah.
restaurants, anything to do around town. You
Can you
know,
imagine the clubs and just bottle service with the
oh,
amount of money that'll be
prices.
there?
Yeah, prices are
Yeah,
gonna be absorbent. Like,
that
uh,
$300
I'm
bottle of
looking forward
cheap
to.
champagne will be 500.
I'm looking forward to the $5 blackjack tables, and maybe
I
push it
guarantee you
to ten
that won't be
dollars.
available. Yeah, it'll be higher. Everything's going up.
Yeah, it'll be
I would be
crazy.
curious to see what one of the low end like the Circus. I just saw a thing the five worst hotels in Vegas, and nothing against MGM or any of these hotels, but Circus has always been a low end, and I think it was
Yeah.
like you can get a room for 19.95 a night. Hasn't been really refurbished or cleaned
Circus
up in
and
decades.
Excalibur was the other one I've always like. Those
Yeah,
two
Tropicana is
stay
older
away.
too, but yeah. But I mean, for this race, you're going to be lucky to get those. But I'm curious to see what some place like the Circus, which is $19 a night,
Yeah,
what that price is going to be. So
I think we're hitting the mark. We'll start to wrap it up. My last thing, so another weekly recurring is the coolest thing I saw this week. I'll pop some pictures up on the video if you want to see it, but definitely Google this one. The world's largest Lego store just recently reopened in Leicester Square in London, and the coolest thing I see there. So I'm not a huge brickhead or anything, and but I like seeing Legos and cool Lego builds. And there is I believe it's 350,000 piece Lego Aston Martin DB5. So it's based around, they have themes at the store. James Bond is a big theme, so it's the DB5 from James Bond. The attention to detail on that thing is crazy, so definitely go check out the Lego
I mean, you
store
don't
in
have to
Leicester
be a
Square.
fan of. You don't even need to be a fan of Legos to not enjoy going to their stores, especially their premium stores. Yeah, I remember going to Legoland in is it Denmark as a kid?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's been so long, but I know guys, adults that are into Legos as investments. They will buy the new releases, hold on to them, keep them in the original package. I mean, there's a whole subculture out there that are into Legos. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
definitely a
If
cool
you're
thing.
if you're in London, check out the new Lego store just recently reopened. And any major Lego store with their creations, they put, there's some amazing Lego creations
Yeah,
out there. But this one, as a car person, this DB5 really was pretty wild to see, and the detail of this DB5 was super cool. So
yeah. Well, as far as cool, I don't really have anything. Maybe a cool experience. As Carson knows, uh, my wife and I go see a lot of concerts, and that may be a topic for a future episode. And actually, my wife and I, before we started dating, both worked at a outdoor amphitheater in Santa Barbara. So it goes back to our youth. That said, last Friday, we attended a cover band, but they're like one of the largest on the West Coast for Earth, Wind, and Fire. And hadn't seen them in a while. It was down at a outdoor. It's not even a venue. It's a bar restaurant that sits on a river called Swabbies. And those in the Sacramento, Northern California area probably know it. Kimba is the band, so a shout out to those guys. And a great band if you're into Earth, Wind, and Fire, 70s funk. If people don't know it, Sacramento is one of the most diverse cities in the United States. And it's always great to see the diversity there and everybody getting along, dancing together, dancing with people you don't know, singing along to the songs. But the lead singer, uh, hadn't seen him in a while. and he told us why. He had a stroke 2 months ago, and he was up singing and sounded great. He was a little bit off, but I brought his mother and his auntie with him. So shout out to Kimba and the lead singer of Kimba, a great band. If you ever have the chance to see them, I believe they're based in Washington with some roots in Oakland. So a shout out to those guys and a recommendation and a very cool experience. We'll see you. We'll see them next time they're in town too.
Yep. So with that, I will leave you with some video my dad recorded of them, and I will
Oh,
post
there you
that
go.
on there. So we will end this episode here. So again, this
Well, the
is
guy in
the
the hat is one of the singers. Great voice, falsetto, but the gentleman on percussions behind him is the one that just had a stroke. So he's still bringing it. Okay.
so check it out on our YouTube channel at Wits End for this video that I'll post on there, and then make sure to continue listening to our podcast on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, Apple Music, Spotify,
Send
other major ones out
suggestions,
there.
topics,
And yeah,
questions, criticisms. We've gotten some criticism, but we take it and we approve.
so with that, we'll sign off from here. We'll see you next time, and thanks for listening.